Now that Berserk is officially being continued with Koji Mori and Studio Gaga at the helm, we know for a fact that in just 3 more chapters, this segment of the story will be over, and we are heading into the final story arc. With that knowledge, it's kind of wild to think just how many possibilities are at the forefront to happen. There are still so many unanswered questions within the story, and who knows how long we have left for them to be answered. I doubt every single mystery will be revealed, as Berserk has always been a series that only lets you know what you need to know at the time, but leaves things vague enough to keep our interest levels high and keep us turning the page. For every revelation that we get, there are more questions that arise, and there's way too many out there to compile into just one video, but I thought I would take what I think are the 10 most important questions Berserk needs to answer before it inevitably ends. These are in no particular order, just 10 things that I think that we can all agree on, that we are practically foaming at the mouth to find an answer for, and to see what happens within this manga. Now, real quick before I get into it, I do just want to give a special shout out to one of my Patreon supporters, Adam Jin Rakai. I've talked about his manga before. He's created his own ongoing manga series called The Shonen Beat, which I will link down below in the description, by the way. And it's a shonen style series where the primary power system revolves completely around music and utilizing sound waves as either a healing or destructive force. It's an incredibly creative and fun ride to read through. Multiple chapters are available for free right now, and he also just launched his own YouTube channel, and he's starting to deep dive into some analysis material on the series One Piece. And I know that I have a lot of One Piece fans that follow me because, well, you guys are always asking me to read One Piece. I haven't, but if you do, I highly recommend that you check out Adam's channel, become a subscriber, and tell him Ryan sent you. Okay, so the first thing, and I think the most talked about mystery in Berserk right now, is what will be the ultimate outcome for Bocchi, the Beylet that Guts has carried around with him since the very first volume of the manga. People have asked who will use this Beylet, will Guts use it, will Casca use it, and to all that I say, no, I don't think so. For many reasons, but the most primary one being that I don't think Miura would plan for something so simple to happen. He often takes what we know and then pulls the rug out from under us, and he does this all the time, and if Mori is following what Miura had wanted, it'll remain the same. I think the Beylet is a red herring, which is a term that basically means it's a misdirect. Not only will Guts using a Beylet go completely against his character and the whole point of retaining one's humanity and how important that is, but also, you can't just use a Beylet. It has to be destined for you, and it wouldn't even matter if he did anyways because apostles have been shown not to be able to do shit against the God Hand. We've seen that several times. So, what will become of the Beylet? Well, here's my batshit fan theory, and I know it sounds crazy, but I swear I just want to state it again in a video because if it happens, I want you all to be able to come back to this video and say, Ryan was right. Anyways, I think Bocchi the Beylet will be used within the forging of a new sword of actuation, and that sword will be Guts' Dragon Slayer. The Dragon Slayer can already harm on an astral and physical level as is, and add in some Beylet dimension hop and power with the same Beylet that Guts has had from the beginning of the manga, perhaps even influencing it for his own purpose during his journey. I don't know if this will actually happen, but I just wanted to get my crazy fan theory out there. Also, I need some goddamn fan art of the Dragon Slayer Sword of Actuation. Why has nobody done this yet? Anyways, my second question is with Guts and the Beast of Darkness / the Berserker armor. We know the repercussions of the long-term use of the armor, and it's been hinted at that Guts has not yet mastered it. I think one of the major themes of Berserk is how to manage and deal with your own inner darkness, which is brought on by horrible life circumstances. We can't embrace that darkness to the point where we lose our humanity, but we also can't ignore its existence as it is a part of us. So there is this balance somewhere of being able to utilize your darkness when necessary, but without becoming one with it or being overtaken by it. And I think the Berserker armor acts as an incredibly intense metaphor for these themes, and Guts mastering the armor is similar to Guts being able to master himself. For my number 3, we have the question surrounding the full history of the Skull Knight. And in this one, I'm including everything from how King Geyseric's empire truly did fall. Was it the eclipse we saw in that brief flashback? Did the Elemental Kings have anything to do with it? What was up with the previous God Hand with Void standing there in the center? What is the relationship between Skull Knight and Void? Or even Skull Knight and the woman who looked like Danan? What was the taboo magic that Flora performed? Was it to place what was left of Geyseric's soul into the Skull Knight armor? We need definitive answers, and we do know a lot of information on Skull Knight's past, but not nearly enough to put the entire picture together yet. Considering we will be heading into the final arc of Berserk, I think it is time to give us the complete breakdown of what exactly happened 1,000 years ago. Number 4 is going to be what happened with Rickert and Salat. What have they been up to? This was one of the most unlikely team-ups of all time, but goddamn did it work well. Salat with his wild martial arts and unique Kushan weapons, alongside Rickert's ingenuity and blacksmith skills. My man made a literal rocket launcher in medieval times. So, I think for a lot of people, we are waiting patiently for their return, and if there is a time skip involved as well, or simply just what the combined efforts of both of them could look like. What kind of advancements in warfare could Rickert make with the Kushan weapons? And has Rickert himself been receiving any training from Salat and company? And also don't forget, Daiba is with them too, and he is an incredibly powerful magic user just on his own. They could potentially be a team that's on par with Guts' team, and if they all join together, well, then we have our army. Number 5 is going to be the future of Guts and Casca's relationship. Casca's mind may have been restored, but her and Guts still haven't had a chance to see each other face to face. And now with it seeming like Griffith is going to take Casca to Falconia, how much longer will it be before they can speak to each other again? Will they ever be able to be together, or is it just too far gone now? And there's this whole elephant in the room of that one time that Guts let his darkness take over momentarily and he assaulted her. Now, I think since he stopped himself and the other 99% of the time during their travels, he has gone above and beyond to keep her safe and to get her the healing treatment he needed at the expense of his own physical well-being, but it will still be something that the both of them have to come to terms with. And I've been waiting around for a Wounds Chapter 3, but now it looks like we'll have to be waiting even longer. Next is the idea of Evil Chapter and its relevance to the story. I did an entire video analysis on just this chapter, so check that out if you want the finer details, but essentially, this chapter was removed from the volume releases because Miura felt like it gave too much information away too soon. Now nothing in the manga has yet contradicted it, so it's safe to say that it's still canon. But how much will it actually affect the story? And what is the ultimate destiny that this idea is leading all of humanity to? Will it try to wipe out all of humanity to eliminate its existence, therefore giving people a fucked up salvation from evil? Or does it just do the same thing every 1,000 years? It builds up to a cataclysmic event, giving people hope, but then ripping it away, continuing that cycle and leaving people in a perpetual state of fears and anxieties. Well, time will only tell. It's interesting though, because you can't fight an idea, so you can't exactly just kill it, and you can't exactly just convince all humanity to stop believing in or giving in to evil. So perhaps the only thing that you can do is just postpone the result until it builds up more destinies over the next 1,000 years. I don't know. But that also leads into the next question of how can Griffith actually be defeated? Clearly, the no mortal weapon can harm him rule seems to be accurate, and so far the only person to lay a hand on him was Rickert, so canonically, Rickert's Pimp Slap is the strongest attack in all of the Berserk lore. But beyond that, it even showed that in recent chapters that the Dragon Slayer does pretty much no damage. Now, Skull Knight's plan of opening a dimensional rift right into the abyss is a pretty good idea, but if Griffith can just catch the sword swing midair, it's not looking good. Now, my idea of combining the Dragon Slayer with the abilities of the Bayless Sword, it might be more effective, but that's just a might. I also don't think that Miura would have planned for Griffith to be defeated in such a simple way. I think there's going to be a much more long, drawn-out process, and it'll throw plenty of curveballs at us. Some people theorize that the God Hand, or maybe more specifically Void, will actually betray Griffith in some way. And some people say maybe it'll be Casca that delivers the final blow, and there's good arguments to be made that she deserves to do it even more than Guts does. But so far, the only potential weakness Griffith has brings me to my number 8. Number 8 is, what will be the fate of the Moonlight Boy? We know that the boy and Griffith share a body, and that this seems to make Griffith incapable of harming Casca and also instinctively want to save her. So could it be possible that the only way to slay Griffith is when the boy is in control of the body? But this would leave Guts, or even Casca, with the horrendous choice of needing to kill their own child in order to kill Griffith. Since this revelation was just made, there hasn't been any talk yet in the manga if it's possible for Griffith and the boy to split from one another, but if not, we have to wonder what will become of the boy. And at my number 9, I have Falconia itself and its ultimate fate. It seems like this is the only current safe place for humanity right now, especially that Elfhelm is currently being destroyed. But is this safe haven actually a cage? And once you gather that many people into one location, then is there some ultimate sacrifice or ritual that needs to take place? You have to think that at the end of every arc of Berserk, Miura always built up to some huge event. In the Black Swordsman arc, we saw what happens when a Beylet activates. In the Golden Age, we saw what happens when a Crimson Beylet activates and a God Hand is born. In the Conviction arc, we saw the Incarnation Ceremony, and in Millennium Empire, we had the war with Ganishka, which ended in the Astral World merger. Basically, at the end of every single arc, it's another stage in the ultimate goals of the God Hand. So, how will the Fantasia arc end? Each stage gets larger and more important than the last one, so we have to assume that the final stage in the final arc will be right there in this mass accumulation of humanity here in Falconia. And lastly, my final number 10 and most important question we have left unanswered is, how old is Morta? Please be over 18.